Hi, this is Kevin Edwards from Portland Community College. On behalf of the Central Analytics Standing Group, I'd like to present you with an example of analytics in action. In ALMA, a patron's expiration date will limit the length of a loan when that date falls before the expected due date of the item. As a result, expired patrons or patrons with upcoming expiration dates may have a less than optimal experience at the circulation desk when they come to check out their requested materials. One way we try to minimize confusion or conflict that may result at the front desk when this situation arises is by tracking patrons whose accounts are about to expire but also have active requests. This report provides us with an opportunity to investigate these situations and make proactive changes whenever possible in order to allow for a smooth transaction when the patron comes to check out their request. Here's how we build the analysis. Create a new analysis under the request dimension. Under Request Measures, add number of requests. Under Requester, add expiry date, primary identifier, and user group. Under Request Status, add request status. And for request date, add request date. Under request completion date, add the request completion date element. Under owning library, I'm going to add owning library name. Under bibliographic details, I'm just going to add title. Under physical item details, I'm going to add barcode and permanent physical location code. Next, let's filter some of these elements. Because I'm only interested in patrons with accounts that may expire in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to use some SQL in order to filter the expiry date element. I'm going to click on Filter, convert this filter to SQL, and then this is the formula I'm going to use. So we have the expiry date element, and what we're saying is we want any accounts that value is between either the current date or in the next 2 weeks. If you wanted to shorten your list to 1 week, all you would have to do is change this number 2 to a 1. If you wanted to expand it to 3, you could just change that number to a 3, and so on. So for request status, I'm also going to filter this to active and ready. I'm doing this because I only want to see patrons who currently have requests on their account. Active means the request is activated and there is an available item to fulfill the request. And ready means the request is still in the queue but not activated yet. So this will capture requests on items that someone else already has out on loan. And finally, I want to filter the request completion date to is null. Filter and then is null. I'm adding this filter in order to avoid any possibility of having completed requests appear in the results. I also want to change the formula and heading for the number of requests element. I want to use this element to count how many accounts fall into this criteria. To do this, I'm going to use the primary identifier element and the count distinct formula. So edit formula, can remove that, and under requester we will add primary identifier, and then select this, and under aggregate we'll find count distinct. And then I'm going to change the heading so it says number of patrons. Before I look at the results, I also want to rename expiry date to something that will be easier to understand for my staff. So it says patron expiry date, or better yet, expiration date, because that is the term expiration date that appears in the patron record. And finally, I'm going to remove request completion date from the display, although this filter will still apply to the result. Now let's look at the results. As you can see, I've taken steps to make sure only a test student account will appear in order to protect our actual student data at PCC. The first thing I'm going to do is drag and drop these columns into the order that I would like to see them appear. Next, I'm going to edit the table to remove the number of accounts element from the display. Put that down and exclude it. And finally, I'm going to enable alternate styling and repeat cell values. This will prevent the possibility of any merged cells that may occur if I download this into Excel later. It also will automatically apply a color scheme that alternates the color across rows that makes it easier to read across the row when there are multiple results. Next, I want to add a performance tile. So I'll add new view and performance tile, and I'll slide that into the position that I want to see. Since we only used one calculated measure, one of these yellow elements, the default is going to be that one element that we use, number of patrons. So I don't need to go in and select this particular element as opposed to another one. If we had multiple calculated measures in this analysis, I might have to do that depending on how which one the system selected. Since the results will continue to update over time, staff will be able to continue to return to this analysis to see if anyone meets this criteria in order to consider any steps we might take to make the patron's experience as seamless as possible when they come to pick up their requested item. Because we've added this performance tile, staff can also see immediately just how many patrons may fall into this situation and to what extent the amount of work they might need to do to investigate any remedies. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation and that it might inspire you for other ways to put analytics into action. If you have suggestions for other presentations like this one, please contact a member of the Central Analytics Standing Group. We'd love to hear from you.